Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Junkin' for Joy podcast. Today we have Anna Ryan Drew here with us today, and she's going to share some fabulous things with us. I've known Anna now for a few years, and we have become like sisters. We are celebrating the year of 50 this year together, and
Yeah.
all the 76 babies are like, yes, it is
Mhm.
our year to turn 50, and I'm excited about turning 50 and
Me
just
too.
having you too, yeah, just
Mhm.
having a different life and having a different perspective on all of this stuff. So thanks again for coming back. You know, this is a place where life coaching and spirituality and connection and creativity all come together for us to have a better life. And that's what we're doing. We're junking for joy and using my inspiration and love of junk journaling to guide us. So I did some journaling this past couple days, Anna, and it was fun for my mental health and for my emotional health. And that's going to be one of the cool things we're going to talk about today. So, yeah. So tell us what you want the world to know about you and all your fabulousness.
Oh boy. How long do we have? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly.
Like where's the cap off? Uh, I am a contemporary artist, and that has spanned really my whole life. And then I'm also, I would say we were asking like the coach world word. I would say I'm a creative guide slash coach. I have a master's in social work, so I have some uh, background in traditional therapy, and then I kind of went off the grid from that and just became more of a coach through lived experience. And I have a boy who's 16, Max, and awesome husband. I've showed my art from New York City to Miami, and I continue to aspire to show it to the world so that it can provide introspection and healing. And I am a, yes, warrior of mental illness, really. I guess if I don't love the word, but we'll use mental illness from my lived experience with bipolar, which I have navigated for over 3 decades and am kicking ass and taking names at this point. So I think that's the gist.
That's a lot. So, right, it's like by the time we add on our age and our lived experience, we add more boxes of who we are. Like, you know, like the bio gets longer and
Yes.
all the life experience starts to add up, which makes us very powerful guides and coaches in the world, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So, which one you want to talk about first? You want to talk about the art first, or you want to talk about some of your latest cool things you're doing?
I think let's go from the beat like where what it is right now, then and we can go backward a little bit. I think
Okay.
there's so many layers that it's fascinating and fun to kind of go out of order in terms of how they lie, you know?
Yeah. So what's happening now? Because I think we can certainly talk about your warriorness and what you've been going through and things like that. So what's happening now?
Well, I will. Okay, so now that I said that, I'm like, wait, do I have to go back first? I'm, I'm going to give the narrative in a little bit, the background a little bit. So, um, right now I'm doing really well, doing a lot of artwork and really thriving. So my lived experience with bipolar, and I want to start with that because it is has been um, a focus and like almost a hero's journey
Mhm.
towards stability and regulation. So I have tried many treatments for specifically the bipolar, ranging from medications to integrative healings to somatic healings to from shamanism to the Catholic Church to ECT treatments to regular psychotherapy, and that got me to about 2024. This all started in the 90s. I was a 90s, you were in the 90s. It was anyway. So when 2025 hit, I think somewhat to do with a little bit of the perimenopause that comes in with hormones and everything. That's a part of it. I had two manic episodes in my those manic episodes. My goal was to not be hospitalized. Now, in my lifetime, I've been hospitalized like 8 times. Now, this is a, treatment that utilizes heavy medication to help the nervous system come back online so that you can go out and function in the normal world, right? So I was really hopeful that I didn't have to go through that again and I could just do these ECT treatments. And I did the ECT treatments for these two manic episodes. So I was like in the linear story of bipolar, I was successful in my mind because I had not gotten into a hospital inpatient because that was like the worst case scenario, right? And and that was a big part of my identity. And so I was able to not do that. But then I started to think, like, what if that's not my end all goal? What if my end all goal isn't just to not be in a hospital? Like, what if it's to actually experience life from a place where I don't even worry about mania, or I don't even try to, look at every symptom I'm having and figure out how to solve it and be in this dysregulation all the time because something's gone awry. I had focused a lot of time on spirituality and I'd focused a lot of time on creativity. That's my artwork, that's mindset work, that's thought work, that's going down every rabbit hole of awareness to grow your soul so that you understand what is going on in this reality. So I had tried those things like heavily. And then in September, maybe it was at the end of the summer, I had this friend and I was on this phone call and she said to me, "Hey, there's this podcast I heard, and it's kind of scientific, so I'm not really sure if it's gonna be up your alley. Like it's a little." She was trying to tell me it wasn't like too much, like it was too smart for me, but she was trying to just tell me maybe I'd like it, like. Anyway, and her name was Dr. Gayla Gates. And she said, just check this podcast out. So I listened to this podcast with Dr. Ian Campbell, and he is from Edinburgh. And Dr. Hyman, obviously, functional medicine, leading in the field of functional medicine. And what I gathered after the podcast, because of these continued treatments with ECT that had been so difficult, and I had been in the middle of the summer on my knees, like, please show me something else. Like, what else? I'll do it if I have to, but what else can I do? And after this podcast, it was like there was this hope. And what I was introduced to was metabolic psychiatry. And metabolic psychiatry is something that is up and coming. It is definitely on the edges of being realized with multiple spans of people, but it's still not mainstream. And they've done a lot of research on bipolar and this and also other mental quote unquote disorders. Don't love the word. Um, but so after that, and so in August also I decided to stop drinking alcohol. Now, this was kind of I say heavy on the spiritual part because I often connect to that part. And there was just a big pull in me like, this isn't the way forward anymore. You're going to start this health coach stuff. You're drinking alcohol, and it just doesn't match up. There's not an energetic match. Alcohol does not match health. Like, let's be serious. Anybody like that's drinking it in big forms or like to forget about whatever it doesn't match the vibration of health. There is no other answer. Sorry. Like not, oh, I'll just drink vodka soda. Oh, I'll just drink whatever. I'm just saying this for people that might be listening because I just think that it's not a hazy gray area. It's your body does not it doesn't vibrate well in the body, in the physical body or the mental body. It clouds us. So I said, I'm going to stop doing that. So I stopped doing it, just like, and made it like a movie. Got my wine, took it out to the trash can, dumped it out. And then I think like at that point, I was like, I knew something something was gonna shift, right? Like something was gonna change. And I hired the health coach. And then I had the experience of you telling me about this podcast. And I just felt at the end of that podcast like a hope like that had never been given to me up until that point.
That's impressive because what you have told in like 2, 3 minutes or maybe 5 minutes is a lifetime of up and down, a lifetime of anxiety, a lifetime of not knowing when the next ball is going to fall out, not quite understanding fully what's happening. And it's like you go in, you have a something that happens to your brain and your body, which you really couldn't figure out how and when. I think it was connected to trauma, having known you for a really long time now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And and when you open up the door for healing, which we have done, and I will say we have become rock stars and opening up the door for healing because it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of tenacity to walk this walk. And what I know about you, having spent a lot of time with you and having had fun time with you, as well as
Right?
all the
Yeah,
ups and downs,
for sure.
you're a jump in feet first kind of girl. You're not the one to put your toe in and think about it and say, "Oh, I'm not sure if I want to do it." And I think that's one of your superpowers is going all in
Hmm.
and really saying to yourself, if this is something that's going to help me, I'm going to do it. Because you've gone from, let's talk a little bit about that because most people don't get ECT on a regular basis.
Yeah, they don't even know what it is.
Right. Most people don't know what ECT is. I thought we could just share a little bit about what it is called, and what your experience has been with just going there, what you experience when you decide to do it, and how you got there. Because most of the time, you just get put on a bunch of medication, which you have been on, and it just didn't work to keep you steady all the time. And we're
Mhm.
not here to tell people what they should or shouldn't do in terms of medicine. We just want to share her perspective and what
Right.
she went through because you did all that, right? And
And
so
I continue to do it. I
yeah,
don't think that it's like a either or kind of,
for you, yeah.
it's not
Mhm.
this or that. It's a not, it's an and.
Yeah. So let's just talk a little bit about what it's like having an ECT experience. What's your day like when you go there and what happens?
Well, so electroconvulsive therapy. So it has a bad rap because of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest version of how they used to do ECT, and it was very inhumane, you know. Basically, they cause put you under and
Mhm.
they cause a seizure in the body that signals the brain to go into a fight mechanism that creates new neurotransmission like networks. So it is fascinating because the body is utilizing the brain to give it medicine, but there is the component of a seizure, which is something that causes trauma on the body, and so it's like a mix of what you get. And with my own experience, if I am in severe mania, it's an effective treatment. It also has some downfalls. Now, I would go to Chicago because that's where I get my treatments, and I would stay the night before, and then I would go in the morning. I They have like such an efficient, beautiful system at Rush Hospital. You go in, you change one time, you get an IV, you get the seizure. It lasts for like they're supposed to be ideally 60 seconds. Mine kept lasting for like two some minutes so that I would come out with much heavier side effects. So I would come out with a migraine. I would come out like really confused. Like I didn't I didn't remember no, the whole month of July I did not remember. I had to look through my photos and see like what I had done with my sister and Max. Like I just did not remember. But that also can be caused by severe mania. So it's kind of like a mixed. There is no what I want to be clear about my story, just from my lived experience. There is no evil villain here.
Mhm.
There are just like layers upon layers of experiences that I can speak to that might help someone else.
Mhm.
So I'm not saying that ECT is a bad treatment. It just wasn't causing regulation in the form that now I have with something that's an alternative.
Yes. Yeah, it's something that you were willing to do, experience and try. And I think, um we were like, how many of these is she gonna have, and
A
what else
lot.
is there out there? Yeah, it is a lot. And being your friend, I was personally a little bit concerned about this being the ongoing treatment for you.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I was like, when I was just scrolling and happened to listen to this podcast, I was literally like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting, just because I thought it was interesting because I was listening to it. And
Hmm.
then I immediately felt this hit, like from spirit saying, you know who to send this to. You've got to send this to Anna so she can just listen to it. And then I thought, well, I don't know. I don't want to tell somebody, what they could do, or is this too much? Or my brain was giving me drama. And I said, no, you have to go with your gut. You have to go with your instincts. And that's how we got here. I had no idea it would be so life changing for you. And I'm so grateful because, as your friend and as someone who's known you, I was like, what's going to be the best path for her to get into maintenance, to get into regulation, to get into true happiness,
Hmm.
and not having to fear that this could be coming again. And, even though you're a warrior and you have accepted that this is your brain and your relationship to your brain, which is another huge thing to celebrate. But this was like, no, there's got to be more. And so tell us
Yeah.
what you've been doing now, in
Yes.
comparison to what you've been doing before, because I know you're very excited about
I'm just so excited
what's
about
been
it.
happening for you.
Yes, and I love the word, I think the word maintenance, but now the new word for me is remission.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful because we don't talk about that in mental health. We don't talk about
Mm.
the fact that our bodies or there's some place in us that can reach this homeostasis place and that we could go in remission and that we're not just bipolar symptomatic forever or schizophrenic forever or have anxiety disorder forever. That to me is like huge because I've always thought about like, you don't want to say one thing could be a cure for something, but I just, so to answer, let me go back to your question because I get so excited. Okay, in, so I'm going to continue kind of where I left off. I hired a health coach and I had hired the health coach. I sent the health coach, Gina Shade, the podcast you sent me. And I said, I'm doing this because I was doing kind of a mix of like paleo and protein and like definitely more whole foods at this point. Like I was like a month or two in. But I was like, Gina, it's like, feet first. This is me. I'm like, Gina, we're doing keto. Like I'm starting it tomorrow. Like we're doing keto. I watched this podcast. And to tell you what the podcast said, basically, because I didn't say that, is there is this metabolic psychiatry that's happening, and they use ketogenic therapies. So, a very focused keto diet, but dialing in on the glucose, dialing in on the ketones, monitoring this with devices, tracking it, tracking circadian rhythm, tracking what the brain is doing, what your mitochondria health is, what your cellular health is. A very scientific way to adapt something to someone has high symptoms, high inflammation, and possibly an inflamed brain. So what what's the difference between like traditional psychiatry and metabolic psychiatry, I think, in my own perspective, is that traditional psychiatry got us this far. They focused on what they focused on, and but a lot of it is siloed thinking, and it's not taking into account the whole body and what the organs are doing. Like when you think about how I've had so many episodes in my life, and I just got in the last 6 months, I just got an MRI. Like when you're going to a psychiatrist, they aren't even looking at the organ of your brain in terms of a scientific piece of study. This is based on, yes, things that are researched and cumulatively put together, but we're not talking about like what I put in my body besides the lithium when I go to the appointment. Now, people have needed this. It's not like I don't think that's needed, but now it's like to look at it from a metabolic perspective, it's what am I putting in my body that can heal my body and heal my organs, heal the brain. So met with Gina, said doing the keto. So I started the keto. Got different books, got on Metabolic Mind, which is a good resource for people. We'll put it in the show notes. But just focused on that. And I started to see some differences. But I felt like because I had a traditional psychiatrist who is amazing, by the way, who is amazing in her right, and Dr. Kelly Rhodes, she is amazing from Rush Hospital. I had that, but I didn't have the psychiatrist that had the metabolic psychiatry training. So I went down a rabbit hole and I was like, this is gonna be like how I go. I'm like hell or high water. Like if this
Mhm.
is gonna help me and the quality of life and what I can give back to this world and my potential, I'm gonna do it. So I found this Dr. Calabrese. She's out of Connecticut, John Hopkins, a very acclaimed woman. And I signed up for this program with her. And now I'm getting tested. Like I'm testing myself every day. My ketones are like much higher. Um, Overall, my cognitive, like I don't have the symptoms of brain fog. I don't have the symptoms of impulse reactivity, emotional like reactivity. So spiraling, I don't spiral. Um, so it's been transformative, absolutely transformative.
Yes. And you mentioned alcohol, and I just think that, what you did is because so many people approach this in different ways, and how they come to the dietary changes is going to be wherever it comes along their journey. For some people, that's the first thing they may try
Right.
but when you're in crisis, the job of the profession is to get you out of crisis and do the best they can to keep you not from having to go back. And so that's the focus of it. Now we're bringing on this holistic, more looking at a person as a whole person, which for the mental health arena is huge, because our brain is a busy little thing, or
Hmm.
and it has so many different complexities to it that we just don't understand everything about what makes things happen, and what trauma does, and what stress does, and childhood trauma, for instance, which I know you've experienced, and just things in your life, or just being out of balance from
Hmm.
when we were little, and ancestrally, all the things that we take on when we're, that I know I have worked with and taken care of within my own health,
Hmm.
and with our clients, when we're thinking about the ancestral piece and all the things that make us who we are. We're
Hmm.
not just one thing. We're a variety of
Right.
experiences and
Right.
variety of things. So, one of the aspects I think I would love to ask you about, because you have transcended this, is the shame.
Hmm.
It's the shame, because there's so much shame that people experience around mental health and around having some of these diagnoses or having these episodes and challenges. Can you talk a little bit about your walk with the concept of shame or not feeling as an adequate person, or what do you think somebody else may experience because of what they have, gone through in their own mental health challenges? It's huge for so many people.
Well, yeah, and I think, well, how I've broken it down a little bit lately is just how we all have like the survivor archetype,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion. And it can be partly inner child, it can be ancestral, or but it's all kind of under the blanket of survival. So shame is a survival emotion, to me. Like that's a survival and a emotion. And being able to separate, I think, your current view of yourself or your essence or your soul or who you are becoming or who you are wanting to embody and separate that out into also the person that's a survivor. So like you approach it like you part of you is survive in the survivor programming that you've had since when you were born or you watched in your environments or through your traumas. You've had this survivor part of you. And then there's another part of you that is whole and healthy and the essence of who you are. And so my one of my tools that I love to use is referencing Survivor Anna. And if Survivor Anna is present, like it's usually if there is shame, it's Survival Anna. It's not, it's utilized almost as a protection mechanism and an inability to feel or want to feel the shame enough or move through it to then move on to the next part of your essence. So to me, it's like being able to separate the two, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because you have to walk through it, get on the other side of it. And then, because the shame can stop people from doing all the things that they can be doing to help
Right, because
themselves
it's
heal.
protecting, though. It's
Yeah,
protecting, right? So,
right.
so when you notice that you feel shame or that you feel like you need to be small, that is the survival part of you. That is your brain scanning the area. That is a normal response. And then you have to be creative enough or look at it in a way enough. And anyone that would be listening to this podcast is doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Then you would look at that like this is not me. Like, this is part of how I protected myself. So what
Mm-hmm.
does that
Right.
what what does that part want to say? What truth does that part need to say? And then you say, okay, well, I can't believe that, for me a long time ago, it was like, don't say you're bipolar, or don't like give that out. Then people will just make these assumptions. And like she was kind of like trying to protect me. But now she doesn't even talk like that anymore. But if she did, then I would say, okay, tell me your truth. I stop, I pause, I listen to the truth that she has, and then I say, okay, we're good. Get back in the back seat. Here's your fruit snacks. You can't allow the person that you were to drive behaviors and drive your car. And if you're allowing that person to take over the wheel, then your behaviors will indicate and your thoughts will indicate where you're going. And it will be in the same direction as the survivor you were 10 years ago when something happened.
Exactly. Because you have an
That makes sense?
abundant mindset with this. Yeah. And I think that's important for people to see because we don't see the process that somebody walks through. We see the end result, but we don't see the late nights, the phone calls, the need of support. People going through any type of challenges need support. They need
Oh,
friendship.
yeah.
They need coaches. They need guides. They need supportive family members and supportive,
Just,
you know,
I
all of
think
that.
the other word, Gayla, that I love to use, they need connection.
Yeah, good
It's
connection,
not,
right?
yeah, because it's support, but it's also connection. And then that's that spiritual part when I talked about the three things I think really have cornerstones of my now health, but what I was trying to pull together was I had the spirituality, I was doing all the things, I was connected, and then I had this creativity that was connected, but the biology was not energetically connected yet until recently, until these new things started to occur where my brain could have the support through these mitochondria cells. This is science. It is not like that's why I just like it's crazy to me that it's all happened like this. But that's why this keto thing isn't a magic fix because I had these other
Mhm.
two pillars that were
Right.
so strong that now can be even stronger with the biology. And
Yeah.
so I think knowing that there is a layering, and if your person that you're going to for mental health or doesn't see the layering, you have to create it yourself because it's not created in the current medical system.
Mhm.
And
Right.
that's okay because that's where we are. We don't need to fight it. We just need to start creating it ourselves so that people can see what it looks like.
Yes. And this is what it looks like to be a pioneer. That's why I call you, maybe that's what I'll call you, a mental health pioneer instead a mental health warrior pioneer, because somebody has to go first or be in the crop of people who are going first. And you
Mhm.
have done that for quite a long time now. You've done research studies. You've tried to help, all types of people, and the doctors in the medical system understand things better. So I just want to give you your flowers for that because it takes a lot of care and concern about others to be in the hot seat and be on someone's research committee to say how can this get better. And I feel like you're also doing this now for the latest metabolic psychiatry aspects of things. So now let's talk about, you said you test yourself and how you feel in your body now, because I can tell this is so empowering because you're like, I can control this, I can take this into my own
It's
hands.
it's this like it's my favorite word, agency.
Yeah.
Agency. I have
Yes.
agency. Like this isn't because I've had agency before, but through the survivor lens.
Yes.
That's how a lot of us are working, right? We work through urgency or
Yes.
crisis, like you were talking about in the medical field.
Mhm.
We don't work through regulation because there are all these layers I feel like to get to it. But with this last thing with the metabolic psychiatry, it really helped the symptoms go away and also made me think, wow, if this is just for me, if this is what can happen with eating this high fat, because so let me just step back for a second. Some of my lab work, the week after I did this podcast, listen to the podcast, a big thing, obviously, I already noted it, is mitochondria health.
Mhm.
And so in the feedback from the functional labs I got, Gina read them and she's like, I don't normally have this with people. I don't know what's going on, but your metabolic health is really bad. You're not able to, your brain isn't able to utilize glucose. It's not utilizing carbs. And those are things that the brain needs
Mhm.
for energy, like a normal person would need that for energy. And so, because it wasn't doing that right now, the reason that the ketones are helpful because they give the brain the energy and the mitochondria the support that they weren't getting from the enzymes that I was eating earlier. So literally, my brain was like a ungassed car. Like it was on fumes,
Starving.
starving,
Mhm.
and then having this nutritional plan give it what it needed.
Yeah, it's very interesting, isn't it? And so I think we're learning more about this complex organ as we go along, and we just want to keep giving grace, which your name means grace. And we
Mhm.
want to give grace to the medical community. We want to give
Yes.
grace to all the doctors who are scratching their heads or pulling their hair out, trying to figure this out. And for the people that are navigating this and for humanity as a whole, because we're still learning. And it takes a
Mhm.
person that's willing, the person to utilize to redirect their resources to be able to experience something like this, which I know you've had to do, right? You have to redirect your resources, your financial resources, your mental health resources. You have to decide to invest in yourself in a different way. And so again, I want to keep just honoring that because some of those barriers are barriers that people will put in front of them and say, well, I can never do that, or how am I going to, find this person? You took the initiative to go out there and to seek help for yourself, to put yourself in the driver's seat, like you say, and put the other version of you in the back with the fruit snacks. But I love that analogy because it's true. It's the little kid in us sometimes that needs a little soothing. You still take them with you, but they need a little soothing along the way to say, but this is where we're going. And
Right.
my prayer is that this will empower people to do that.
Hmm.
So is there anything else you want to share about your experience related to this now, because I know this has been huge. It's been about what, 6 8 months or so.
Yeah, and the maybe a little bit less than that, but the thing that I think is really also fascinating is that once I started to really get in the ketosis, and I feel like I have a new brain. Like that's literally how I feel. I feel like the ability for me to be present and to utilize my brain is I've never experienced this in my life. Maybe I felt like this when I was a child in terms of the functioning of my brain. I don't still don't understand how it all works in terms of the brain and mental illness. But I know that this is working. And you mentioned research, and I just want to mention that I was involved in the University of Michigan longitudinal Heinz Prechter bipolar research study for about over 10 years. And then I pulled back from it when I kind of just was at a place where I felt like I wasn't getting any answers, and they were doing a great job at what they were doing, but I just pulled away. And then now, since I had all of these new variables come into play, I had reached out to them, and I have recently you know, presented to their team about what I've experienced, and they have tons of data on me. They have over 10 years of data. So they're going to utilize that data, and we hope to do a case study, and I will co-author that, and also some other things with the research team to help just to have people be more aware. This is not, like I said, a magic answer. There are layers to it, but this is one thing that I think should definitely be out in the world and talked about so that other people can have the opportunity to try something that maybe they haven't tried that is has been very effective for me.
Yes, I love that. I'm grateful for you for being open to talk a little bit about your experience and some of the emotions and all of the things that you have to navigate through. And, we can't speak about what someone's, navigating, but the need for support is universal
Hmm.
to all of us. Having gone through a lot myself, I can honestly say support is huge. Mental support, emotional support, spiritual support. You need support in all categories,
Hmm. All
all
of it.
categories in order to be able to navigate this. You mentioned two concepts that I love. You talked about is not being a magic fix, and that's not what we're looking for. We're looking for resolution and, like you say, remission, and then the now health, the concept of the now health, my now health, because our previous experience doesn't, it can color our current experience, but it doesn't have to define it.
Hmm.
It
Right.
does not have to define it. So good for you on that. And you mentioned your three pillars are creativity, spirituality, and the biology of it all. And I
Yeah.
think that is just beautiful for someone to say, well, how do I get started? You kind of need all these three in your life in one way or another in
Hmm.
order to be able to have the grit that you need to keep going and to say what's next. So
Hmm.
some of that is how you're wired, which I know you're here to be an energetic pioneer as well. So all of that makes a huge difference. Can we talk a little bit about your art now, which we have on display
Hmm.
behind us both? And I absolutely adore what you created for me and what you've created for others. So, can we share a little bit now about how art has really been therapy for you, has been all of the things that it's, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but all the things that your art has meant to you um, and
Yeah,
what you do?
I yeah, I think that my mother is an artist, and I grew up with her being in the studio, and she had a store in Chicago, and she was constantly painting on our walls, like literally when I was growing up. And the door didn't have a window, so she painted right on the door, the window in the house. And so she was very uninhibited in terms of her ability to create. And so that was my baseline reference. And then when I went to formal training at University of Michigan to do my bachelor's in fine arts, it was coming off my first manic episode, and which was a really traumatic one, the just really traumatic. And I went there thinking it was going to be kind of like my mom, but like in a different, but no. Because art school is more like you make the piece, you do what they say. I mean, not exactly, but you do what the assignment is, and then you do a group critique. And I was fragile, so I requested a independent studies to help me. And so I had these women that were professors that kind of took me under their wing, and they allowed me to start doing self-portraits. And so this started in 95 or so, I think, 95, 96. And so I started this series of Ye of Little Faith, which has kind of an aura around it. I did not have my spiritual connection, I would say, of the triangle was collapsed. I did not have faith in something greater than myself after the trauma that I went through.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of people can relate to that. Um, so I just kept on painting though, and it was a way that I could see in the mirror like what I had really experienced, like even suffering that I'd experienced. You can see a lot in my work, the range of the human like
Mhm.
temperature. Um, and so I've continued to do those self-portraits throughout my art career, and now my work has kind of morphed into a combination of still doing self-portraits and still doing process. But now it's kind of turned into more of a reflection of the homeostasis and the coherence. So there are pieces, though, that look like the one behind me, which is very serene and has a lot of gold. And then there'll be pieces that in my collection that look completely manic because they are, because I was manic when I was producing them. So there is a just whole span of human experience in my artwork.
Yeah. And it releases the judgment, it releases the, you know, details of how it should be. You are truly a free spirit, Anna, and your art shows that. It shows the freedom and whoever I am in the moment, whatever energy I need to move. Because I've watched you create before, and
Mhm.
I've been on the other side of a workshops with you, and you're like, just put it on the paper and just move it around, and just put the paint on the canvas and see where it goes. And we're like, huh, and we're like, what are you talking about?
Well,
And
yeah, I mean, I think that art is like a
so,
portal. It's a portal, and it's been a portal for me, and it's been a portal for other people that have worked with me because we can make it into that space where you can go to the edge of what your nervous system thinks it can do or should do, or that survivor part of you comes full force, like, well, she didn't tell us what color to use, and I don't know how much paint to have, and this is white canvas. I mean, you don't have to go to Mount Everest to train your nervous system that it can have the capacity to handle things, and that you're actually driving your own car and you can be like so in your possibility of the unknown
mm-hmm,
more than you think. And so there's an ease in that. You can turn art into anything, like if you're trying to learn a certain thing, but the way I approach art is the way I try to approach everything.
mm-hmm. I love that. And being a creative guide and coach for people, you're sort of taking this experience with your art, with your lived experience, with your training, with all of your personality and all these different things into one. And you're actually helping women with that. So, what are you up to now when it comes to the coaching part? Because you're right, you do help people to go to the edge of what they think is possible and then go over it. And it's like, oh
Right.
no, you're at another edge, because once you go over one edge, here comes another one.
Well, because
And
they don't stop in our lifetime, Gayla. They
right,
don't stop. So you have to
right.
be able to understand that there's always going to be another
Yeah.
mountain, not to quote Miley Cyrus in her music, but that
Here's another one. Here comes another one. If
yeah.
you're willing, right, to grow, to change, to shift. So
Yes. Yes.
yeah, and there's some of us who signed up for constant growth. And so Anna is one of those beings that helps us to navigate that. And do you want to share a little bit about that part of your work before we come to a close, or what you're
So
up to?
yeah, I do a group called Dream Merchants, and that's a very intimate group. And then private clients are application like only as like they would have to apply to do that.
Mm-hmm. For you to
Because
work with them.
yeah, it's you got to be really ready. Like
Yeah.
it's not a not I'm not saying that in an evaluative way like I am like better or anything like that, but a lot of people they are comfortable in their spiritual growth and keeping their spiritual growth a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
And they're tied to what makes them comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not your person then. I
That's the
am
truth.
someone who knows from experience and thrives that if you want to grow, you're going to have to be uncomfortable.
Yep.
In every area that I have t talked about with the triangle, every area you got to be somewhat uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Supported, connected, nourished, um, full of your own compassion and love, but that's like the baseline. You have to be willing to be okay with being hard.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes. And then you can create beautiful art to support you along your journey.
Yes,
So you
yes.
have something gorgeous to reflect on, to experience. And I know that there's a scaling aspect to this, because I've seen your canvas that you work on, and they're not little bitty little things. There is this huge
Mhm.
wall size canvas
Yeah.
almost that you are moving your whole entire body when you're creating and draw,
Mhm.
and creating these things, and they just come through you.
Mhm.
And so that's what you're helping people to do. So if that sounds like something you need to experience, you can contact Miss Anna, and she
Mhm.
will throw you right on over the edge in a good way.
I will help you jump and you will enjoy the jump as much as it's hard.
Yes. Yeah, you will. Exactly. Having experienced it myself. So I'm so grateful that you came. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we conclude this beautiful podcast episode?
Just that, you know, how beautiful it is to be alive and to feel like that agency and resilience and the ability to keep going
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that if you start to take full agency, not it's this or it's that, but full agency, full responsibility. There's a freedom when you cross over to being able to look at your life from a agenic space. And that is where I'm at. So,
Oh,
yeah.
oh, beautiful. And the last question I have is, what brings you joy? What brings you the most joy?
And what doesn't?
All kinds of things, right?
All kinds of things. I mean, it's like even the challenges. bring me joy. That's probably annoying for someone, but that's true. Like I'll have something happen to me and like thank goodness that happened so I could understand how to navigate that and like it was exactly what I needed to but I in general, my family, my friends, my artwork, just literally being alive
Mm-hmm. And
for all of
fashion.
it. Yeah, and
And
fashion.
fashion.
Fashion's huge.
Right? I was like,
Okay,
come on, we can't forget about fashion.
we cannot forget about fashion. I change outfits sometimes 3 times a day if I'm in the mood. I that just is like, what do I want to be right now? What do I want to express right now? What do I want to flow through me right now? And then I'm in a different outfit.
That may be a part two where we come back and we share
Yeah.
how creativity you can wear it and feel amazing and want to be creative
Yes.
multiple times of the day. So
Hmm. Hmm.
yes, well, thank you for this, and I know a lot of people are going to benefit from you being here today. So, all right, everybody, that's another fabulous episode. You're welcome. I appreciate you, and I love you, and I'm so grateful for you. So, all right, y'all, until the next episode, take care and go be blessed. Bye.